Yo, what is going on, guys? Welcome to today's video. In this one, we're taking a look at the Chrysler 300, and we have three things to get done today. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and install the shocks and struts on the Chrysler 300. These are made by Unity, and I'll just say that it's the eBay special because it's relatively cheap. I think it was 220 bucks, and you're going to end up with that OEM ride quality and feel, and we're not going to do anything crazy like coilovers as of yet. So to get started, we're going to go ahead and remove this dust cover cap on top of the strut mount, and you can see there's three bolts. All three of those nuts are going to be 13 millimeters. And I just have the lower control arm supported with the floor jack, and while it's supported, I'm just going to go ahead and start removing a lot of the different bolts, nuts, linkages. You can see I have the sway bar end link kind of just pulled off, but with the Unity shocks and struts, they do have their own hardware. You can see that on this one, in this case, they give you a nut to use because the nut that's on the factory OEM suspension is actually welded. So that's not one that you're obviously going to be reusing when we're just going to throw this all out. So they give you the hardware that you need to install all these parts correctly. And just like that, we remove the three nuts from the top of the shock mount and the two bolts that are actually attached to the strut itself. The last thing we'll do is remove the cap on the wishbone right here, and then we'll be ready to put in the new parts. And this is what the old versus the new looks like. Obviously the new being a lot cleaner, and you can see it's just slightly longer because it's not as worn out as the old one is. This is what it looks like when it's actually finally all installed. Definitely points out all the other suspension components like this bushing right here that needs to get changed, even the bushing on that side. We do have some other components that, you know, with time and money, I will hopefully eventually change. But as for now, it's a good start to just at least get some of the major components changed out. And now we'll go ahead and move on to the rear. We'll go ahead and get the tire off and the rear jacked up, and this is what the new strut looks like. So easy enough. There's just two bolts they have to remove. I believe these were also 13 mil. And then on the bottom, there's another place where once you position your jack and support this lower control arm, you can remove this nut and bolt, and then the whole thing will come out. You might have to use a pry bar, but relatively easy to do. Again, here's a comparison between the old versus the new. We are going to reuse some of the components from the old strut, and what you're going to do is use the bushing, this top plate, and the collar or the dust cover, and that'll make it look super OEM, and it'll fit really nice once you get all that stuff switched over. Job number one is done. The shocks and the struts are in. The next thing we'll move on to is going to be the OEM wheel lugs, which I'll explain in the next part.
All right, so next thing, we gotta change out these old silver chrome looking lug nuts. These are the black ones that I went ahead and got. Although it's not gonna match the whole look of the car, I think it'll be a nicer addition. Yeah, the wheel's super dirty. There's some curb rash, and this is the 75th anniversary edition, so we'll have to redo some of this pinstripe eventually, but for now, I want to change the lug nuts and get these on. All right, we're all done. Everything's torqued up. They look good. Clean the wheels a little bit. Like I said, it's still a rough wheel. Still has a lot of curb rash, a lot of impurities in the paint, but it looks good. Like I mentioned before, the whole reason we are leaving these OEM ones is because they're kind of a two-piece design. You have this like collar right here, and then you have the main lug nut right here. But if you look inside, what ends up happening after impact guns, air wrenches, stuff like that, what will happen is this will get deformed. So that's the whole reason why we're changing these guys out. Here's a better example of one getting just absolutely demolished. So this thing is super deformed. But we got new ones, so almost done. All right, the last thing that we have to do for the Chrysler for right now is the hood struts. So I got some brand new struts so that we can change those guys out and not have this land on our head all the time. Yeah, so that should only take us a couple minutes. So these guys usually are easy enough. All you have to do is get a flathead like this and then put it underneath the clip and lift up, and that'll break that connection like that. And then the new ones will just plop on, so not too hard. So now we'll just take the new one and get it positioned on this guy, push it in one side, and then this is where it gets a little tricky. You'll probably have to lift the hood of the car up as high as you can, and then push it in a little bit, which honestly, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this with one hand, one arm. So let me try to do this the correct way. And boom, just like that. So got one side done, we'll do the other side, make sure this is pushed in, and that's it for the hitch. That's it for the hood struts. Okay, both of these struts are changed, and it just goes up on its own. Don't have to worry about it falling on my head when I'm doing oil changes or any of the regular maintenance stuff. So that's another job done.